Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Syrian rebels rapidly advance towards capital Damascus. India urges its citizens to leave Syria at the earliest. South Korea's president survives an impeachment bid as the ruling party lawmakers stage a walkout from the National Assembly. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar attends the Doha Forum panel, highlights innovative and participative diplomacy as the need of the hour. Indian Prime Minister lauds the BAPS Swaminarayan Sect for its humanitarian endeavours, urges volunteers to work towards making India a developed nation by 2047. First, the news about Syria, where the situation is evolving rapidly. It's changing rapidly. The rebels have pressed their lightning advance, saying they had seized most of the south as the government forces dug in to defend key central city of Homs to try and save President Bashar al-Assad's 24-year-old rule. Besides capturing Aleppo in the north, Hama in the center and Deir al-Zor in east, rebels say they have taken the southern Quneitra, Darra and Suwaida and advanced to within 50 kilometers of capital Damascus. Amid all this, the Syrian presidency has denied reports of President Bashar al-Assad fleeing the country, saying he is continuing to perform his duties. Some media reports say that Bashar al-Assad has fled the country. President's office defies that, and there is intense fighting going on in the country.
As fighting continues in Syria, the rebel forces have started closing in Bashar al-Assad-ruled Damascus after seizing towns close by on Saturday. Syrian Defense Ministry has denied the army had fled the positions near the capital. Besides capturing Aleppo in the north, Hama in the center and Deir al-Zor in east, rebels say they have taken southern Quneitra, Deira and Suwaida and advanced to within 50 kilometers of the capital. Rebel commander Hassan Abdul Ghani, with the Islamist-led alliance that launched the offensive in the country's northwest, said that its forces have begun the final phase of encircling the capital, Damascus. Syria's military withdrew from positions in the Damascus countryside roughly 10 kilometers from the capital as rebel forces pressed their offensive on government-held territories. Meanwhile, Iran has reaffirmed its unwavering support for Assad's regime. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met with Iraqi and Syrian counterparts in Baghdad as Tehran doubled down on its alliance.
The threats of terrorism in Syria will not be limited to Syria, and it is a threat to all neighbors and the entire region. If Syria becomes the shelter for terrorists, with the return of ISIS and other terrorist groups, it will create a great threat to the region, and this threat will definitely not be limited to Syria and will accelerate into Syria's neighboring countries such as Iraq, Jordan, and Turkey.
Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani has said that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has failed to engage with his people.
Had an opportunity in that time when the war over there has calmed down, yet Assad didn't seize this opportunities to start engaging and restoring his relationship with his people, and we didn't see any serious movement, whether it's on the return of the refugees or on reconciling with his own people.
The US is also keeping a close eye on developments. Secretary of the State Antony J. Blinken spoke today with the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan to discuss developments. In view of deteriorating security situation in Syria, India issued an advisory to citizens to avoid all travel to Syria until further notice. The US and Russia have also asked their citizens to leave the country immediately. At least 370,000 people, mostly women and children, have now been displaced in Syria due to the latest escalation in fighting, according to the UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The ongoing fighting in Syria is expected to displace around 1.5 million people, says the UN World Food Programme. This is a breaking point for a food crisis in the country where 12.9 million people are already considered food insecure. With Nupur Sayyadav Sarul Hassan for DD India.
So clearly, it's a precarious situation as things appear right now. Days look numbered for President Bashar al-Assad. We'll have to see whether his forces are able to contain them. But clearly, the rebels have advanced quite a bit, and it has become, if Homs falls, Damascus is gone. That is a given. But let's see how the situation develops in the coming hours, maybe days. Meanwhile, South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol survived an impeachment vote in the opposition-led parliament on Saturday that was prompted by his short-lived attempt to impose martial law this week after members of his own party boycotted the session. Local news agency Yonhap reports that the opposition party will propose new impeachment bill on Wednesday for vote on Saturday.
South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol survived an impeachment motion in the opposition-led parliament on Saturday that was prompted by his short-lived attempt to impose martial law this week after members of his party boycotted the vote. Only 195 votes were cast below the threshold of 200 needed for the vote to count.
명패수를 확인한 바
With a total of 195 votes, the number of members who voted did not reach the required two-thirds majority of the total members. Therefore, I declare that the vote on this matter is not valid.
Meanwhile, Yoon is facing widespread calls for resignation after the short-lived martial law decree sent shockwaves through South Korean politics. The incident, which occurred on Tuesday night, took everyone by surprise. Yoon's declaration of martial law was met with immediate backlash, with lawmakers racing to the National Assembly in Seoul to vote against the measure. The law was, however, revoked hours later after widespread criticism. Meanwhile, pro-Yoon protests were also reported in Seoul. Supporters of Yoon Suk Yeol took to the streets of Seoul in a strong show of support for the South Korean president. Thousands of demonstrators gathered at the Gwanghwamun Square, singing, dancing, waving signs and Korean and US national flags. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol apologized to the nation for declaring martial law, which caused a massive public stir. In a televised address, Yoon said he would not seek to avoid legal and political responsibility for his decision, adding, "It was made out of desperation." He also promised that there will be no second martial law declaration.
매우 송구스럽게 생각합니다.
I'm very sorry and would like to sincerely apologize to the people who were shocked regarding the declaration of martial law. I will not avoid any legal or political responsibility.
와 관련하여
In a press briefing, South Korea's main opposition leader, Lee Jae-myung, said that he will work hard to end President Yoon Suk Yeol's term early, despite Yoon's apology to the nation.
The greatest risk facing South Korea right now is the very existence of the president. The only solution are the president's immediate resignation or an early exit through impeachment. I will do my utmost to ensure the president's resignation or impeachment.
Meanwhile, South Korea's opposition-led parliament on Saturday rejected a bill proposing a special investigation into First Lady Kim Kyon-hee. Out of all 300 lawmakers present, the bill was rejected with 198 in favor and 102 against in a secret ballot held during the plenary session at 5 p.m. Kim has been embroiled in several allegations, including accepting gifts from a pastor and manipulating stocks in Deutsche Motors, a BMW dealer in South Korea. Bureau Report, DD India.
And my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh now joins us from the newsroom. Shubhendu, it was quite a dramatic day, quite dramatic scenes seen there, ruling party lawmakers walking out of the impeachment hearing, then some of them came back. Give us a sense of why, one, the impeachment bid was stalled, how did he survive, and what could possibly happen now?
Right, Amrit. Scenes more dramatic than the popular Korean dramas played out in Seoul at the National Assembly, both inside and outside. Today was a big day. Impeachment was scheduled. Impeachment vote was scheduled for President Yoon Suk Yeol. Before that, it's very important to also note that a high-level investigation was also going to be voted upon against the First Lady Kim Kyon-hee. That was defeated by 2 votes, and that should have been an indicator of the kind of stance that the ruling party is likely to take against its own chief and president. Now, when the voting started, the ruling party, the People Power's Party, the party of Yoon Suk Yeol, they staged a walkout. That was where the dramatic scene started. As they were walking out, the people outside, the South Koreans, they in fact chanted, they asked them to go back and fulfill their responsibility. The Speaker of the House made a passionate appeal that whether you vote for the President or against, you must exercise your franchise and responsibility and do not leave and return. However, after much pleading, only 4 of the members from the ruling governing party returned, of which only 3 supported the impeachment. 1 of them supported the President. So in that sense, the number that was required for the impeachment to go through, 200 out of 300, which is 2/3 of the number of votes, that number could not be achieved, and the impeachment proceedings therefore stalled and could not achieve the aim that it was seeking to achieve. Meanwhile, the sources informed that many of the party members of Yoon Suk Yeol's party who had walked out, some of the reasons that they're giving is also about the kind of political dead end that PPP, People's Power Party, is likely to face if Yoon Suk Yeol was impeached today. It would be end of career perhaps for Yoon Suk Yeol, but more importantly, the kind of political setback that the party will have to suffer. The opposition Democratic Party already controls the parliament, nearly 2/3 majority in the National Assembly, and now they're most likely to also have their presidential candidate hail to the power. So in that sense, it would also mean complete political ostracization for the party, and they felt it was a cost, too big a cost to pay for what one individual president had done.
All right. Shubhendu, now the opposition is saying they'll bring in a new impeachment bill on Wednesday that goes on vote on Saturday. What happens then? What happens next? Say if the impeachment bill goes through, what are the consequences? The president goes, who takes over? And if the impeachment bill is defeated, what happens? What are you picking up? Is there some kind of backroom negotiations going on?
Well, no information as such for now about the backroom negotiations, Amrit, but the pressure will increase now on the governing party, on People's Power Party, by the people of South Korea. We saw the manner in which they had surrounded the National Assembly today, all asking for the proceedings to go through successfully. Now this interim period that is there for the next impeachment vote to happen, the pressure, the protests will increase most likely against President Yoon Suk Yeol, pressure on him to step down, or at least on his party to go through with the impeachment process as something that is demanded by the people of South Korea. If that impeachment process goes through successfully, there's another level to the whole impeachment process. The matter will then be taken to the Constitutional Court of South Korea. There's a bit of technicality there as well. There are about 9 judges who are supposed to preside over any such matter. However, 3 judges have retired. There are only 6 judges who are present at the moment to preside over this matter. Now, we'll have to wait and watch if President Yoon Suk Yeol is going to elect new judges in that quorum who are going to then sit over his trial. That technicality will have to be sorted out. At least 7 judges would be required for the quorum to complete. Once that happens, if the court also agrees to the impeachment votes and removes the president, then Prime Minister Han Duck-seo will become the interim president. The elections would be called, and weeks from then, the dates would be announced and a new election and a new president would be elected. But it would be a big fall from grace for Yoon Suk Yeol. Remember 2017, Amrit, Yoon Suk Yeol really came into the public scene as a prosecutor from the grassroots who would take down high-ranking corrupt politicians. And today, he himself, along with his wife, faces political and economic corruption charges.
Okay. We'll leave it there. Shubhendu, many thanks for joining us and giving us that update. Thank you. And still to come on DD India NewsHour, Russian airstrike on Zaporozhye kills 10, injures 25 people. Mass protests in Georgia over the government's decision to suspend negotiations on joining the European Union. US court rejects TikTok's appeal against law requiring it to separate from Chinese owners.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Amritpal Singh. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually addressed the BAPS Karyakar Savarna Mahotsav on Saturday. Union Home Minister Amit Shah also participated in the event held at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. Thousands of people and volunteers associated with the BAPS were part of the celebration. In his address, Prime Minister Modi praised the selfless service by millions of BAPS volunteers.
कार्यकर सुवर्ण महोत्सव भगवान स्वामीनारायण की मानवीय शिक्षाओं का उत्सव है। ये सेवा के उन दशकों की गौरव गाथा है जिसने लाखों करोड़ों लोगों का जीवन बदला। ये मेरा सौभाग्य है कि मैंने बाप्स के सेवा अभियानों को इतने करीब से देखा है। मुझे उनसे जुड़ने का अवसर मिला है। भुज में भूकंप से हुई तबाही के बाद के हालात हो, नरनारायण नगर गांव का पुनर्निर्माण हो, चाहे केरला की बाढ़ हो या उत्तराखंड में भूस्खलन की पीड़ा हो या फिर हाल ही में कोरोना जैसी वैश्विक महामारी की आपदा, हमारे कार्यकर साथी हर जगह परिवार भाव से खड़े होते हैं।
And in his address, Prime Minister Modi also noted that BAPS temples around the world are undertaking numerous service projects.
विश्व के 28 देशों में भगवान स्वामीनारायण के 1800 मंदिर, दुनिया भर में 21,000 से ज्यादा आध्यात्मिक केंद्र, सेवा के अलग अलग प्रकल्पों का काम, दुनिया जब ये देखती है तो वो इसमें भारत की आध्यात्मिक विरासत, आध्यात्मिक पहचान के दर्शन करती है। ये मंदिर भारत के सांस्कृतिक प्रतिबिंब है। विश्व की सबसे प्राचीन जीवंत संस्कृति के केंद्र है। कोई भी व्यक्ति जब इनसे जुड़ता है तो वो भारत के प्रति आकर्षित हुए बिना नहीं रहता।
The Prime Minister also acknowledged the active participation of all citizens in the Viksit Bharat campaign.
एक कॉमन पर्पस से जुड़े लाखों कार्यकर्ता देश की, समाज की बड़ी ताकत बनते हैं और इसलिए आज जब देश विकसित भारत का लक्ष्य लेकर चल रहा है, तब स्वाभाविक रूप से जन जन का एक साथ आना और कुछ बड़ा कर दिखाने की भावना हम हर क्षेत्र में देख रहे हैं। स्वच्छ भारत मिशन हो, नेचुरल फार्मिंग हो, या पर्यावरण को लेकर जागरूकता की बात हो, बेटियों की शिक्षा हो, या आदिवासी कल्याण का विषय हो, देश के लोग आगे बढ़कर राष्ट्र निर्माण की इस यात्रा का नेतृत्व कर रहे हैं।
Okay, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a visit to Doha, speaking alongside Qatar's Prime Minister and Norway's Foreign Minister. The conflict mediation in a new era panel discussion. Dr. S. Jaishankar highlighted India's substantial stakes in regional stability. He revealed India's ongoing diplomatic engagements with both Presidents Putin and Zelensky regarding the Ukrainian conflict, while emphasizing that this war will not be resolved on the battlefield.
We have always held to the view that this war is not going to be solved on the battlefield. That at the end of the day, people are going to return to some kind of negotiating table, the sooner the better. And our effort has been to facilitate that to the extent possible. We're not attempting a peace plan. We're not doing a mediation in that sense. We are doing multiple conversations and very transparent about telling each party, saying, look, at the end of the conversation, this is what we're going to tell the other party. We think that's, at this point of time, the most useful.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Qatar, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, in Doha today. The leaders held a productive discussion on bilateral relations and ongoing efforts to further strengthen them. They also exchanged views on the developments in Gaza, Syria and the region. And Dr. Jaishankar also met his Cyprus counterpart, Konstantinos Kombos. Both leaders discussed about developments in the Mediterranean, along with talks on bilateral partnership. Jaishankar also held a meeting with President and CEO of the World Economic Forum, Bosch Brande, in Doha during the forum, where they discussed the global economic and current political scenario. Tensions on the front line of Russia-Ukraine conflict escalate as a deadly Russian airstrike in Zaporozhye killed 10 and injured 25. President Zelensky condemned the attack, while Russia claimed 6 cluster strikes on Ukrainian military targets, and Ukraine reported over 100 intense battles along the front line over the past 24 hours. Ravindra Chauhan brings us more.
As the situation on the front line in the Russia-Ukraine conflict remained tense, a deadly Russian airstrike on Zaporizhzhia on Saturday left 10 people dead and 25 injured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attack. Russia claimed its forces carried out 6 cluster strikes on Ukrainian military targets. On the other hand, Ukraine reported over 100 battles in the frontline area over the past 24 hours. Russian forces have escalated their strikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure in recent weeks, with the most recent attack last month plunging hundreds of thousands into temporary blackouts.
Our energy workers, they are working 24 hours a day to repair, to renovate, because they understand the importance of light, the importance of heat, and they understand the importance of stable work of energy system for all Ukrainians.
Russian forces are taking control of more settlements in Ukraine, including the latest, Beretsky, a small village in Kurakhov, along with 6 other settlements in the Donetsk and Zaporizhzhia regions. They also claim to have shot down 441 Ukrainian drones and destroyed 8 Ukrainian unmanned vessels. Rabindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
Let's talk about Georgia now, where mass protests fueled by the government's decision to suspend negotiations on joining the European Union, with police cracking down on protesters with increasing force in an attempt to curb the demonstrations. DD India's Rahul Upadhyaya brings us more.
Pro-EU protesters and police clashed in Tbilisi on Saturday after a standoff near the Georgian parliament. Police arrested dozens of people who rallied for the 9th consecutive day against the government decision to shelve talks on joining the European bloc. Security forces fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowds who had gathered outside the parliament. Hundreds of arrests have been made. The country's rights ombudsman has accused the police of torture against those detained, with scores reporting mistreatment or showing visible injuries.
Today I did an estimation, they arrest approximately 50 people a day on average during these 8 or 9 days. Out of these 50 people, they basically torture about 40. And out of these 40, they about 25 need hospitalization. They're beaten so severely. So this is the reality we live in.
Georgia has been engulfed in turmoil since the governing Georgian Green Party declared that it had won a disputed October 26 election. However, the opposition says that the election was tainted by fraud. Rahul Upadhyaya's report for DD India.
And in Romania, the presidential election has been annulled following allegations of Russian interference, sparking political turmoil and international concern. Prosecutors are now investigating campaign financing irregularities while the nation braces for a potential rerun. Take a look at DD India's Sarita Chaudhary's report.
Romania has plunged into political uncertainty after Constitutional Court decided to annul the presidential election. The court upheld the allegations of Russian interference favoring a far-right candidate. Russia has denied such interfering in the election. Far-right presidential candidate Călin Georgescu has criticized the court's decision and called it undemocratic.
Today's decision by the Constitutional Court represents more than a legal controversy. It's practically a formalized state coup. The rule of law is in an induced coma, and justice is subordinated to political orders and has practically lost its essence. It is no longer justice, it is by an order.
After court's verdict, outgoing President Klaus Iohannis announced that he will remain in office until a new president is elected. His term was originally set to end on the 21st of this month.
In the Constitution of Romania, we read in Article 83, paragraph 2, the President of Romania exercises his mandate until the oath of the newly elected president is taken. Therefore, I remain in office until a new president of Romania is elected. When the new president takes the oath, I will leave here.
The nullification of Romania's presidential election has drawn international reactions. The US State Department emphasized that Romanians must have confidence in the integrity of their elections, free from foreign interference. Whereas British Foreign Minister David Lammy expressed concern over reports of Russian meddling. Analysts suggest that a new presidential election could be held no earlier than March 2025 as authorities prepare for a rerun.
The Romanian Constitutional Court met and made a rather unexpected decision to annul the presidential elections and repeat them from the very beginning. That is, from the stage of candidate registration, so the earliest new presidential elections. Here, their final deadline is to be set by the government, can only take place in March 2025.
The annulment followed the release of declassified intelligence documents which revealed vote manipulation, campaign irregularities, and non-transparent funding during the overall electoral process. Romanian prosecutors searched several properties in illegal financing in a presidential candidate's election campaign. Sarita Chaudhary's report for DD India.
A U.S. appeals court on Friday rejected TikTok's attempt to question the constitutionality of a law requiring TikTok to separate from its Chinese owners or face a ban in the United States. The law signed by President Joe Biden in April would block TikTok from U.S. app stores and web hosting services unless ByteDance, its Chinese parent company, sells the platform by January 19th. After losing an appeal in a federal court, TikTok on Friday said it would go to the U.S. Supreme Court under the right to free speech to fight the ban. The U.S. government alleges TikTok allows Beijing to collect data and spy on users. China and the company have denied these allegations. And still to come on DD India NewsHour, a discussion with a special guest on the evolving situation in Syria.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
And to discuss, welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Amrit Pal Singh. To discuss the evolving situation or the fast evolving situation in Syria, I'm joined by Lieutenant General retired Syed Ata Hasnan. He's a former commander of the Indian Army Srinagar Corps. Thank you, General Hasnan. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. General Hasnan, first of all, for our viewers, explain what is at play in Syria. Who are these rebels? Why are they fighting President Assad's forces, and what is the tussle all about?
Thank you, Amrit. Thank you very much. This is one of the most complex battles going on anywhere in the world, and it has taken the whole world by surprise. So I take our viewers back to 2011, although we can start much earlier than that too. But 2011 is the year of the Arab Spring, when you see a fair amount of turbulence was there in various capitals of the Arab world, where people were marching on the streets essentially for democratic rights. In some places they were successful, but in Damascus and in Syria, they were fired upon. There was a military action against them, and you found a democratic forces getting subdued. The democratic forces then subsequently rose up, and that is how the civil war started, which has been going on since 2011. Slowly, lots of other international elements started joining in, because this is a very crucial area of the world, the Levant, which is essentially the territory between the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean Sea, and the bridge between the Middle East and Europe. So it has everything up for stake in terms of stakes in this area. It was Iran who supported the Syrian government. You had the Turks who were initially in support and subsequently against them, because the Syrians were also supporting the Kurds to some extent. And then subsequently you found the elephant in the room in terms of the Islamic State entering into it, which was the rump elements coming out of Iraq. So it became what is termed in strategically sometimes as a bugger's muddle in this entire game which was going on here. No victors, no losers at the end of it. Russia also joined in 2015, because Russia wanted to protect its interests in the Mediterranean, where it has got air bases and a naval base outside the Black Sea. Now, all this was quiet for the last 5 years after the ISIS got defeated. 5 years, things have been quiet. The world's attention was on Ukraine and the world's attention was on Gaza and in Lebanon. And all of a sudden, you find an upsurge once again in the civil war situation. It appeared to us initially as if some external forces are obviously supporting the democratic forces in Syria, who have suddenly become very powerful. And there seems to be militant groups who are the rump elements of the Al-Qaeda, who have entered in here, again complicating the whole issue. And these militant groups are succeeding. They have almost captured Aleppo, they have almost captured Idlib, and they are marching on to Damascus.
Right.
The final battle, of course, will depend upon the moment the Iraqi militias, the Shia militias, which are marching towards Syria, also join battle. So you can expect that there will be a major battle around Damascus in the very near future.
Are you saying the Shia militia are going to, fight President Assad's forces?
No.
They're going to side with. Okay. So is there a sectarian twist to this whole drama that's unfolding there?
Absolutely. Although on one side you will hear an argument saying there is nothing sectarian in this, but it has become sectarian to the extent that Iran has got its major interest here. Okay. Iran has promoted the government of Bashar Assad throughout this period. Bashar Assad and the Alawites are essentially aligned with the Shiite elements. So there is a Shia element of bringing in the Shia crescent into this particular area of the Levant. They are being battled against by the Sunnis, who are the Syrian democratic forces, who are really not just hardcore Sunnis, but have been identified as aligned with the Sunni elements. Now, they are the ones who have suddenly become extremely powerful. Where have they got this weaponry from? Where have they got this leadership from?
Okay, so you're saying the sectarian, color to it may be due to the geopolitics, but not really rooted inside the country. For everything else, he may be a dictator, Assad may be a dictator, but his regime is said to be largely secular.
Well, that is what is the perception, but generally, and that's what he has followed all these years. In fact, Syria was always considered a very, very secular, a very middle path kind of a state.
Because he's an Alawite, there are Christians there, there are Sunnis there, there are Shias there, there are Kurds there.
Absolutely. That's the right thing, the right way of looking at it. But it's got a sectarian color because of the geopolitical issues very correctly identified by you, because of the geopolitical interests of balance between Saudi Arabia, which is supporting the Syrian democratic forces, and Iran, which is supporting the Alawites.
Okay. Very interestingly, General, Donald Trump has made a statement a little while back, about an hour back. He says, US should have nothing to do with the conflict in Syria. How should we read it? Once he comes into power, what kind of a role could we see his administration playing out there?
Well, let's look at the backdrop very briefly. Even at the height of the civil war, the United States was essentially providing air support, air power to the Syrian democratic forces and some amount of weaponry to them. Nothing more than that. Their direct involvement in this war was very, very limited comparatively. Today, whether they would want to enter into it or not, as Mr. Trump has very correctly perhaps assessed, he does not want to have the United States getting involved into this third place, because already in Ukraine, although not physically involved, neither involved in Gaza, but three places at the same time to be meddling in the affairs of these countries would seem something out of proportion. And Mr. Trump is not known to be one who wants to bring US power in intervention, in terms of intervention into any of these conflicts. So what he is attempting to do, what he is saying, to my mind, seems absolutely correct.
Okay. General Hasnan, what is the potential of, say, if Bashar al-Assad goes, what kind of a destabilizing potential it could have on the region, given that we have already a full-fledged conflict going on, a war going on for more than a year now?
Well, it will be hypothetical at this stage to say whether Bashar Assad goes. Okay. He may very well get defeated, though at the moment, battle for Damascus has really not been enjoined. But hypothetically, if we agree to say that if Bashar Assad's forces are defeated and he is removed, the one element which will suffer hugely is Iran. Because you see, Iran's support into the Levant, Iran's support to Hezbollah and to Lebanon is contingent upon this territory remaining contiguous with Iran.
Absolutely.
This is the area through which all the convoys move, all the rearming, the missiles, all that you have seen in the war in northern Iraq, in northern Israel and southern Lebanon, everything comes through this area. Now, if that is not in the hands of the Syrian force, or rather in the Bashar Assad's hands, or in the Iranian interest, obviously a resupply to the forces of Hezbollah is going to become well nigh impossible. And that will reduce Iran's influence hugely in this area.
Okay, yeah, and Iran wouldn't want the Shia arc to be broken there.
Absolutely.
Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnan, thank you very much. That's all the time we have for. I would have loved to chat more with you, but we'll leave it for another day. Thank you for now. India's Prime Minister's office in a social media post on X has said, and I quote, "It is a matter of immense pride for India and the Archbishop George Kuvakad will be created as a cardinal by His Holiness Pope Francis." The government of India sent a delegation led by Union Minister Shri George Kurian to witness this ceremony. And prior to the ceremony, the Indian delegation had also called on Pope Francis. India's Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav dedicated a new foot-over bridge at Balasore railway station in Odisha on Saturday. The Railway Minister also inspected the railway tracks and emphasized the government's commitment to strengthening infrastructure. During his engagements with various railway projects in Odisha, Vaishnav also announced that Doordarshan will start a news bulletin in Santali language within a week.
भाषा देश की बहुत एक महत्वपूर्ण भाषा है और जिस तरह से माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आदिवासी समाज के प्रति एक बहुत बड़ा आत्मीय भाव से बहुत गरिमामय तरीके से भगवान श्री बिरसा मुंडा जी को ध्यान में रखते हुए उनको याद करते हुए आदिवासी समाज के विकास के लिए जो काम किया है उसी कड़ी में संथाली भाषा में न्यूज़ कैसे हमारे संथाली बोलने वाले आदिवासी समाज को मिले उसका सुनने का आनंद मिले वो एक प्रयास है अगले हफ्ते से संथाली भाषा में न्यूज़ चालू होगा.
And in some international news coming in, US President-elect Donald J. Trump has met the French President Emmanuel Macron before attending the reopening ceremony of the Notre Dame Cathedral, making a splashy re-entry onto the global stage in his first foreign trip since winning the presidential election in November. In line with India's Act East and Neighbourhood First policies, India has reaffirmed its commitment to providing humanitarian assistance to Myanmar. As a helping hand, a consignment of 2,200 metric tons of rice was dispatched from Chennai port to Myanmar on Saturday. And now a look at some other stories making headlines around the world. A man has died and millions of people have been urged to stay indoors as storm Darag hits the United Kingdom and Ireland with winds topping 93 miles per hour on Saturday. The UK Met Office had issued a rare red alert for high winds overnight to Saturday morning, covering parts of Wales and southwest England. Tens of thousands of people across the United Kingdom have now been left without power. The apartment building in The Hague collapsed following an explosion and fire on Saturday, injuring at least 4 people. Extensive recovery efforts are underway with fears that more victims may be trapped under the rubble. Firefighters are working to extinguish the flames and clear debris, while nearby vehicles were also damaged by the blast. Mexico's president has launched an investigation after 13 children reportedly died from contaminated intravenous nutrition at 4 central hospitals. Authorities are working to determine the cause and prevent further incidents. Still to come on DD India NewsHour, India celebrates the Armed Forces Flag Day. And we get you a special story on Khasi mandarin, a juicy citrus fruit from Meghalaya, which looks like orange, but it's not orange. Australia on course for a series levelling victory in Adelaide Test after India slumped to 128 runs for loss of 5 wickets in second innings.
While our needs have expanded, the places where we live are becoming increasingly more and more vulnerable. Let's take a look at some of these ideas and examples of how this is being done.
We do traffic survey, basically traffic volume survey. Many intersection has now 0 fatalities and injuries. The streets has 0 dust pollution now.
Palmyra bags, it negates the destruction of the root structure because we do not remove these bags. Over a period of a few weeks, it gets totally degraded and mixes with the soil, which also avoids the plastic pollution.
Fish feces is known as sludge and can be used for plantain farming. This is how I started smart integrated farming, which didn't only help my plantain farming, but also all the other crops that I started to grow.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Amrit Pal Singh. In remembrance of our soldiers, veterans and Indian Armed Forces martyrs, December 7th is designated as the Armed Forces Flag Day each year. Extending his greetings on the occasion, the country's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh hailed the courage, valour, fortitude and sacrifices of the Indian Armed Forces. The minister has also urged people to contribute generously to the Armed Forces Flag Day Fund.
सशस्त्र सेना झंडा दिवस हमें यह संदेश और साथ ही यह अवसर भी देता है कि हम सेवानिवृत्त सैनिकों, उनके परिवारों और वीर नारियों के प्रति अपनी जिम्मेदारियों को निभाएं। आप सभी अवगत होंगे कि हमारे जो सेवानिवृत्त सैनिक हैं अथवा उनका जो परिवार है, उनके बच्चे हैं, उनके कल्याण के लिए सरकार अपने स्तर पर हर वह कदम उठा रही है जो कदम उठाने चाहिए।
7th December is celebrated as Armed Forces Flag Day every year in India. Citizens wear badges of the national flag and also donate to the fund for welfare of martyred and disabled soldiers. DD India's Nandita Daga reports.
7th of December is observed as the Armed Forces Flag Day since 1949 throughout India to honor the martyrs and the men in uniform who valiantly fought and continue to fight on our borders to safeguard the country's honor. Soldiers are one of the greatest assets of any country. They are the guardians of the nation and protect the citizens at all costs. The Armed Forces Flag Day brings to forefront our commitment of looking after our war-disabled soldiers, Veer Naris and the families of martyrs who have sacrificed their lives for the country. Fundraising for the well-being of armed forces personnel and their families is another aspect of the Armed Forces Flag Day. The Defence Ministry created the Armed Forces Flag Day Fund in 1949. Contributions can be made to the Armed Forces Flag Day Fund by cheque, demand draft, NEFT, RTGS drawn in various bank accounts. For contribution to the Armed Forces Flag Day Fund, you may please log in to affdf.gov.in. On this day, symbolic flags are flown to raise awareness of the sacrifices made by our military and to promote donations. Wearing these flags is a straightforward but heartfelt way to show respect and gratitude. Citizens have the chance to show their appreciation for defense troops and their families on this particular day. In New Delhi, this is Nandita Dagar for DD India.
And let's now take a look at other stories making the news. Indian Army, in collaboration with the Flag Foundation of India, unfurled the national flag on a mounted 108 feet high mast at the Longewala Yudh Sthal of Rajasthan on Saturday. The initiative aims to pay tributes to the exceptional bravery and valour of Indian soldiers during the 1971 Indo-Pak War. Ahead of the Mahakumbh, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a meeting with officials to review preparations for Mahakumbh 2025 in Prayagraj on Saturday. The Mahakumbh will begin on the 13th of January 2025 and will conclude with the final bath on the 26th of February 2025. According to India's Ministry of Commerce and Industry, recognized startups registered under the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade have created over 16.6 lakh direct jobs in India across more than 55 industries. The highest number of direct jobs were created in the IT sector, followed by healthcare and life sciences. Assam Governor Lakshman Prasad Acharya participated in a solemn and spirited celebration on the occasion of the Armed Forces Flag Day in Guwahati on Saturday. In his address, Acharya honored the sacrifices and dedication of military personnel in safeguarding national security. Nestled in the heart of Meghalaya, where misty hills meet rich soil, grows a fruit that's as unique as the land itself. Meet the Khasi mandarin, a citrus fruit that's fast becoming a symbol of the state's agricultural pride.
The Khasi mandarins, or Sinteng as they are locally known, are not just another variety of orange. They are a testament to the age-old agricultural practices of the indigenous Khasi people, known for their bright, tangy flavor and thin skin. These mandarins have been cultivated in the region for generations. Unlike the commercially mass-produced oranges, Khasi mandarins are prized for their unique taste. The fruit is juicy, aromatic, and incredibly sweet, without the usual tartness that other varieties can carry. It's no wonder that they've become a favorite among both locals and visitors alike. With their rise in popularity, local farmers are finding new markets and opportunities to showcase their harvest both within India and globally. Recently, Jirang Organic Agro Farmer Producer Company in Riboi district of Meghalaya reached a significant milestone with the launch of this season's first export consignment of GI-tagged Khasi mandarin to Lulu Mall in Dubai. The 1 megaton consignment was transported via Air India cargo from Guwahati to Dubai, representing the first ever direct export shipment from the region using this route. The Meghalaya government also holds Zest Festival to promote these Khasi mandarins in Bangalore. The geographical indication tag that was awarded this year has greatly facilitated their ability to export products to distant locations. Last year, the society successfully exported 20 metric tons of produce to Dubai.
I would like to give the credit of our success to both central and state governments, as their support helped us a lot. The Jirang Organic Agro Farmer Producer Company has had a positive impact on the region, especially the women, and has created significant employment opportunities.
Farmers expressed their satisfaction with the employment generated by the society, noting it has improved their livelihood. They urged other youth and community members to seize these opportunities, work hard, and not shy away from contributing to the region's growth. The Khasi mandarin is more than just a fruit. It's a symbol of Meghalaya's rich agricultural heritage and a reflection of the state's natural beauty. From the hilltops of the Khasi Hills to markets across India, the story of Khasi mandarin continues to unfold, one sweet, juicy bite at a time. Also, this success story serves as an inspiring example of how community-driven initiatives can foster economic growth, enhance livelihoods, and contribute to sustainable development in the region. Bureau Report, DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. Time now for some sports news. India slumped to 128 runs for the loss of 5 wickets in the second innings on day 2 of the second test in Adelaide on Saturday. Australia rode on Travis Head's blistering 140 to post 337 in the first innings and stay on course for a series-levelling victory. He had smashed a swashbuckling 100 to fetch Australia a first innings lead of 157 runs. Australia's pace battery further consolidated their position by blowing away the top half of India's batting order. Rishabh Pant and Nitish Kumar Reddy were battling on 28 and 15 respectively at the close of the play with 29 runs still in the areas. Pat Cummins and Scott Boland took 2 wickets apiece to peg back Indian innings. Defending champion Ding Liren and his teenage challenger D. Gukesh of India agreed to draw in the 10th game of the World Chess Championship on Saturday. With only 4 games left in the championship being held in Singapore, the score is tied at 5 points each in the 14-match series. Each player has won 1 game apiece, with Ding taking the opening match on November 25th and Gukesh coming back to defeat the champion in the game 3. The rest ended in draw. If both remain tied after 14 rounds, the match will move to a tiebreaker, which will be played on the 13th of December. Asia Pacific Deaf Games is being held in Malaysia. India took part in 7 sports and has won 46 medals so far. The judo team has won 2 gold and 5 bronze medals. Our correspondent Manisha Sharma spoke to judo coach Surinder Singh. Listen in.
In Asia Pacific Deaf Games, which is happening in Malaysia, the judo team won 7 medals. Let's hear from their coaches what are their experiences.
First time Indian Deaf team participated in Asia Pacific Deaf Game, and comprising of 6 players, 4 women and 2 men. Women participated in 48 kg, 52 kg, 57 kg and 78 kg, and men participated in 66 kg and 73 kg. We won all the medals. 2 gold medals. Sakshi, I especially want to mention, Sakshi played really well. She also won bronze medal in World Championship and now gold medal in Asia Pacific Deaf Games. And Milan Meet, who participated first time in international competition and won gold medal. So rest of the players also won 4 bronze medal. So our team, women team, also won bronze medal in team championship.
It's so heartwarming how our differently abled are making the nation proud outside the country. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched the Waves OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audience. If you also want great content for free, then download Waves today. That's it in this edition of DD India NewsHour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, can go and download this app. You can scan the QR code that you see on your screens right now. It's there both on iOS and Android. So download that app now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh, and from my entire team here in Delhi, thank you for watching DD India NewsHour.